Picture this. You're the only honest kid in a room full of absolute geniuses at cheating, and you decide to play hero on the final exam. Worst mistake of my life. Because before I could even raise my hand, the door clicked shut, and I was locked inside a freezing janitor's closet while my entire future went up in flames. Alright guys, grab a coffee, settle in, because this is a story I haven't told many people, mostly because it's deeply embarrassing, completely insane, and honestly, looking back, I still can't believe it actually happened to me. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and let's dive right into what I like to call the day my entire class decided I needed to disappear. It all went down during the spring semester of my senior year at Oak Ridge High. Now, Oak Ridge was one of those suburban high schools where everyone kind of knew everyone, but the social hierarchy was brutal. You had the athletes, the popular kids, the theater kids, and then you had me. I wasn't a total outcast, but I was definitely the guy who sat in the second row, took neat notes, and actually gave a crap about his GPA. I wanted to go to a decent state university, maybe get some partial academic scholarships, and to do that, I needed a solid grade in AP Calculus. Enter Mr. Henderson. Mr. Henderson was a legend, but not in a good way. He was a burnt-out, tenure-protected dinosaur who clearly hated teaching and despised teenagers even more. He taught a Calc like he was reciting a phone book. He'd write equations on the chalkboard with his back to us, mumble to himself, and spend the entire 45 minutes of class scrolling through automotive parts websites on his school-issued laptop. We practically taught ourselves the entire semester. Because of this, the class had organically formed into a massive, highly coordinated, underground criminal syndicate. I'm not exaggerating. By the time final exam season rolled around, cheating in Mr. Henderson's class wasn't just a casual thing. It was a military-grade operation. Weeks before the final, I noticed weird things happening. Group chats were popping up that I wasn't invited to. People were swapping custom calculator faceplates that looked totally normal from the outside, but underneath the slide cover? Oh man. They had microprint cheat sheets tucked inside. Kids were trading smartwatches with custom formulas preloaded. Even Brad Miller, the star quarterback whose idea of calculus was probably spelling the word math wrong, was suddenly acting way too confident. Now look, normally I'm a live and let live kind of guy. If people want to cheat on a quiz or plagiarize an English essay, that's their business. I've got my own problems to worry about. But the final exam for AP Calculus wasn't just any test. It counted for 40% of our overall grade. Furthermore, Mr. Henderson had a strict policy. If anyone was caught cheating, or if there was blatant proof of mass academic dishonesty, the entire class score would be invalidated and we would all automatically receive a 0 and have to retake the class over the summer. Summer school. In July. In a building with broken air conditioning. That was my nightmare. I had spent countless late nights drinking Red Bull, staring at derivatives and integrals until my eyes bled, trying to earn an honest A. The thought of losing all of that because Brad Miller and his crew wanted to lazy slide their way through a test made my blood boil. The tension in the classroom the morning of the exam was thicker than pea soup. You could cut it with a knife. As we all walked into room 204, nobody was talking about prom, nobody was talking about graduation. It was dead silent, save for the nervous tapping of pencils and shoes squeaking on the linoleum floor. Mr. Henderson walked in 5 minutes late, looking exhausted, carrying a stack of yellow exam packets. He dropped them on his desk with a heavy thud, looked at us through his thick glasses and said, "All right, phone's in the basket by the door. Calculator's on the desk. No talking. You have 2 hours. Begin." And with that, he immediately sat down, pulled out his laptop, and pulled up a live auction page for a 1978 Corvette Stingray. He didn't look up once. Within 30 seconds, the operation went live. It was like watching a well-oiled machine. Sarah Jenkins, who sat in the front row, casually dropped her eraser. As she bent down to pick it up, she flashed a prearranged hand signal to the second row. 3 fingers up, 2 fingers down. That meant problem number 4's answer was C. Instantly, a ripple of quiet, synchronized tapping echoed through the desks. Tap, tap, tap. I sat there, staring at my test paper, my jaw dropping lower and lower. It was brazen. It was everywhere. People were passing notes folded into origami shapes disguised as gum wrappers. Phones that had somehow bypassed the basket were vibrating silently in laps under desks. Brad Miller was practically leaning over into the aisle, blatantly copying answers from the kid next to him while making zero effort to hide it. My stomach churned. I knew if Mr. Henderson looked up even once, we were all doomed. All my hard work, gone because these idiots couldn't be bothered to study a single formula. I tried to ignore it, I really did. I put my head down and focused on question 12. But then, Brad tossed a literal paper airplane right onto my desk. It bounced off my calculator and landed in my lap. I unfolded it out of pure reflex. Inside, scrawled in messy handwriting, it said, "Hey nerd, quit staring straight ahead and pass the back page or you'll regret it." That was it. That was my breaking point. Something inside me snapped. The righteous indignation took over. I wasn't going to let these morons drag me down with them. I raised my hand. I didn't just raise it casually. I put it straight up in the air, high and proud, like the Statue of Liberty. The entire room went instantly, horrifyingly silent. You could hear a pin drop. Even the ceiling fan sounded like it had stopped spinning. I looked around, and every single pair of eyes in that room, 28 of my classmates, was locked onto me. Their faces weren't just panicked. They looked feral. Mr. Henderson didn't look up from his Corvette auction. "Yes, Cooper? Do you need another pencil?" he muttered, still staring at his screen. I opened my mouth to speak. I was about to drop the bomb. I was going to say, "Mr. Henderson, everyone here is cheating, and if you don't do something..." Before the words could even form past my teeth, the person sitting directly behind me, Chloe, the sweet, innocent girl who always volunteered to bring cookies to club meetings, suddenly kicked my chair hard from behind. My desk slammed into the row in front of me, knocking over my pencil case and scattering pens everywhere. Before I could even catch my balance, two massive hands grabbed me by the shoulders. It was Brad Miller and his lab partner, Marcus. These guys played varsity football and weighed about 220 each. To them, manhandling me was about as hard as picking up a feather. Whoa, Cooper buddy," Brad hissed, a terrifying, fake-friendly smile plastered across his face. "You look a little sick. I think you need some fresh air." "What are you? Let go of me!" I yelped, trying to pull away, but my voice cracked in a way that completely destroyed any authority I was trying to project. "Mr. Henderson," Chloe called out, her voice dripping with pure Academy Award-winning innocence. "Cooper doesn't feel well. He's turning really pale and clutching his stomach. I think he's going to throw up." Mr. Henderson finally looked up from his laptop, squinting lazily across the room. He looked at me, saw me struggling in a headlock between two football players, sighed deeply like this was the greatest inconvenience of his life, and waved his hand dismissively. "Just take him to the nurse and take your stuff with you. Don't track anything back in here." "Got it, Mr. H. We'll take care of our boy." Brad beamed. Before I could scream, before I could yell out that it was a trap, Brad and Marcus hoisted me completely out of my seat. My feet weren't even touching the floor. With 28 pairs of silent, glaring classmates watching our every move, they carried me out of the classroom doors into the empty, sunlit hallway. The second the heavy wooden doors clicked shut behind us, the friendly act vanished instantly. "All right, listen to me, you little snitch," Brad snarled, shoving me hard against the lockers. The metal clanged loudly, echoing down the empty corridor. "You think you're some kind of hero? You think you're going to ruin graduation for the entire senior class because you couldn't get a girlfriend and want to take it out on us?" You guys were cheating," I gasped, trying to stand my ground, though my knees were shaking. "If Mr. Henderson catches you, we all fail." "Yeah, well, he wasn't going to catch us until you decided to play Batman," Marcus growled, crossing his massive arms. "So here's what's going to happen. The test is 45 minutes long. You are going to take a little vacation." "A vacation? Where?" Brad grinned, a wicked, sadistic glint in his eye. He pointed down the hall toward the old janitor's supply closet next to the east stairwell. My blood ran cold. No way. You are not locking me in there." "Oh, we definitely are," Brad laughed. Before I could run, Marcus grabbed me by the collar and Brad grabbed my legs. They hauled me down the hallway, kicking and struggling like a toddler having a meltdown at a grocery store. They unlocked the heavy metal door of the janitor's closet, which smelled intensely of industrial bleach, wet mops, and old floor wax, and threw me right inside. "Hey, let me out of here! This is kidnapping!" I screamed, slamming my fists against the metal door. "Have fun, Cooper! Study hard!" Brad called out through the crack. Click. The deadbolt slid home. And then, silence. I stood there in pitch blackness, save for a tiny sliver of light coming through the ventilation grate at the top of the door. I was trapped. In a janitor's closet. During my final exam. At first, I panicked. I started pounding on the door, yelling at the top of my lungs. "Let me out! I'll fail! I'll miss college applications!" But it was completely useless. The hallway was empty during third period, and the walls of Oak Ridge High were built like a medieval fortress. Nobody was coming to save me. After about 5 minutes of hyperventilating and coughing from the overwhelming smell of pine cleaner, I forced myself to calm down. I pulled out my phone. Thank God they hadn't taken my phone. They were too focused on getting me out of the room to remember to pat me down. I looked at the screen. No service. Of course, the school had these ridiculous signal-blocking repeaters installed in the inner hallways. I was officially stranded. I spent the next 35 minutes sitting on an upturned plastic bucket, staring at a mop, contemplating every single life choice that had led me to this exact pathetic moment. I thought about dropping out. I thought about moving to Canada and changing my name. I wondered if my mom would be mad that I ruined my future over a high school calculus test. Finally, right around the time the bell rang, signaling the end of the exam period, I heard footsteps outside the door. The key turned in the lock with a loud metallic clack. The door swung open, and standing there was Brad, smiling casually, looking like he had just aced a history quiz. "Class is over, buddy. Time to come home," Brad said smoothly, holding out a hand to help me up. I batted his hand away, stumbled out of the closet coughing, my clothes smelling heavily of ammonia and lemon floor soap, and glared daggers at him. "You guys are absolute psychopaths," I choked out. "Relax, Cooper," Brad chuckled, patting me on the shoulder like we were best buds. "Nobody got caught. We all passed. And hey, you didn't have to stress about question 12 anymore, did you? You're welcome." Before I could punch him or try to and instantly get my ass handed to me, he turned around and jogged down the hall to join the rest of the cheering crowd of seniors celebrating their freedom. To this day, I never told Mr. Henderson. What was I going to say? "Sir, the football team locked me in a closet because I tried to stop them from cheating?" He would have laughed in my face and given me detention for disturbing the peace. I ended up getting a B+ on the final. Honestly, probably because Mr. Henderson felt bad for how disheveled and weird I looked when I stumbled back into the classroom 5 minutes late to grab my backpack. So, yeah, that's the story of the last time I ever tried to be a hero in high school. Moral of the story? Sometimes it's better to just mind your own business and let the cheaters cheat and stay far, far away from the janitor's closet. If you guys enjoyed this wild ride of a story, make sure to smash that like button, hit subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss out on more crazy Reddit confessions. Drop a comment below telling me, would you have snitched on your classmates or taken the easy way out and kept your mouth shut? Catch you guys in the next one.